Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the finals here. We do have Sean Gallagher on your left with Azorius Control versus Tim Hatch on your right. This is the voice of Mason Clark, joined by Devin O'Donnell, better known as Doomwake, and we are going to cover this match live here for the finals. 8 rounds of Swiss, 2 other rounds of top 8. The players are here, and they are ready to go. They're going to take a quick second to double-check everything, as this is an open deckless finals due to the stream. But, Devin, who do you think is favored in the finals and why?
I hate to say it, but I really do think that Sean Gallagher is, we kind of talked about this a little bit before the match start, before we came off break. I think Sean's a pretty big favorite, sizable favorite in this matchup. Part of the reason you'd maybe want to play an Azorius deck, kind of to prey on these Esper decks that are. So we kind of saw 2 different versions of Esper. We saw Tim's version, and then we saw Ben Unger's version that's maybe a little bit more lower to the ground, more cheap threats, Gixes, stuff like that. And that's kind of a way to go under the blue-white control decks. But if you're making your deck bigger to be better in the Esper mirrors, I think in turn that probably makes your deck a lot weaker against control.
That makes a lot of sense to me. That's been my experience playing Esper as well. As much as I like the deck, I think Sean Gallagher is going to be in a happy spot here now, just about playing the games. It is definitely not a matchup where, I don't think Sean would snap pick this one of all the decks in the format to play against. Maybe he would. We'll have to find out later from that. But I think this is a spot where, you're happy to play this matchup, but not, your first pick one. And we're going to have to see what's going on here, as Sean is on the play, being the 3rd seed in our Swiss. Tim Hatch, our 5th. That is going to matter a good bit. Things like Rafine on turn 3 when you are on the draw is a lot more punishing than turn 3 on the play.
Exactly. So, let's see players shuffling up. Trying to think of what does an ideal hand look like here for Tim? I mean, I would imagine Deep Cavern Bat, take your counterspell, slam, Rafine, or Wedding Announcement, something along those lines.
Yeah, those would be good. I think you can also do something like Fealty to Ardenvale and get that into turn. Hopefully Sean fights over it because Virtue is such a scary card, and then you slam something like Wedding Announcement. Those players are going to go to 6 here. Open deck, let's kind of know, hey, I got a bunch of cut downs and some lands. That's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's another good thing to point out. Tim, I guess in a game 1 situation, Tim has a lot more dead cards than Sean does. Tim has 3 cut down, 3 go for the throat that don't really have any meaningful targets. And then if you look at Sean's deck, the removal spells on Sean's side are still good. Like they kill bats, they kill Rafines, they kill that kind of stuff. So Sean doesn't really have any dead cards, I guess maybe Lockdown, but even then that one can still do something.
Yep. Going to be exciting to see sort of how this plays out there. The open deck list means, we know what is coming as well when it comes to mulligans. I think that is something that, Gallagher gets a big edge in. When Gallagher's mulliganing, it's basically pointing the same type of cards all the time, right? Like, this format is so focused around creature decks for the most part that he can kind of hedge in that direction. Where Tim might, keep a hand that has cut down and stuff like that, not knowing what Gallagher's on. Although he does have, the Fast and the Teferius shirt on. So that might give you a little bit of a clue. But overall, I do think this is a spot where open deck lists probably favor Sean overall, but Tim's got something to it as well, as we do see a Seachrome Coast in the passing of the turn.
To Sean's credit, he is a man. He does love a control deck, and he really does sell the part. Like you said, the Fast and the Teferius, just a beautiful shirt.
It's a great one. And one thing, true about Sean as well is he is a blue-white lover. So we do see no more lives in this Deep Cavern Bat. That was a good start for Tim. We talked about needing. Sean lost in the finals playing blue-white control and Pioneer about 3 NRGs ago to Daniel Weiser. And is someone who just loves the deck beforehand too, as we do see Rafine into no more lives as well. That was the start we talked about. He had it so far, but can he convert here in the last little bit? And you can tell Sean loves the deck too, because basically his whole deck is foil.
Yeah, and I mean, this is basically this is the epitome of play draw, right? Imagine if Tim was in the play this game. Tim would have resolved the bat, could have taken one of the counter spells. Granted, Sean had a second one for the Rafine anyways, but Bat could have traded for a card that wasn't a counter spell. Bat would have been in play, and this game looks a lot different if Tim's in the play versus the draw.
Yep. And then now you see here from Sean not really worrying too much about Dinnick in play. Going to let it resolve. Just play an Otawara past the turn. Has a Disruptive Protocol in hand. That is going to be the cancel variant of choice for Gallagher this weekend. It looks like we drew a Memory Deluge for turn.
I was talking earlier, and it's not Deluge, Mason. It's Deluge.
Deluge? Is that what you said?
Deluge.
What about them deluges? We are going to see Disruptive Protocol.
Chad, I tried, all right? I tried.
Listen, I believe that chat believes they're right. But until I hear it from someone I trust, I just don't know.
It was Fire Shoes that said it, so.
That's tough. I do trust Fire Shoes. As we are going to see the Restless Anchorage move into combat. Sean does have a Loch-Horned Whale in hand. Looks like we are going to use it on the land that we can tap in. Devin, I know that you're wanting to look at this. We got to figure out if we want this top or bottom. We could we're never going to main phase the Loch-Horned Whale, but we could. And if we do, it's going to have Ward 2, and it's so big, and it might actually end this game very quickly.
I mean, you say that we're not going to main phase it, but Sean knows that there's 4 normalized in Tim's deck. I mean, if we're going to cast it, it might just be right to main phase it, honestly.
Yeah, I talking about it with you there, I kind of like it. Yeah, let's just get the 6/6 into play.
I like it.
Yeah, Tim has cards like Go for the Throat or whatever, but if he goes for the throat this, then it's just Time Walk, right? As Tim did have the No More Lies in hand.
Oh, just beautiful, you know?
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to see... Okay, we do have a Go for the Throat as well. We have Ward. That's going to, buy us some time.
Yeah, and I mean, Sean was kind of aware of that was a possibility, but, very heads of play, wanting to play around that No More Lies.
Yeah.
Now, it does kind of work out pretty well for Tim, because Tim still gets to hold up 2 mana, so, even if Sean goes for an additional follow-up threat, or maybe like an end phase Deluge, then Tim's still able to normalize that Deluge.
Yeah, I was going to say, it might end up actually not working in Sean's favor if the game goes long enough. We'll have to see exactly how this plays out. As there are Fiends on top, you see Tim's face like, oh, that one's pretty good, but I don't think it's the one I need, as it does look like we're going to bin it. And if you're Sean, you're probably pretty conflicted about this one, all right, as it does look like Tim's leaving on top. Attack for 3. Gallagher down to 11. Hatch up to 29.
Yeah, I mean, Sean doesn't have a lot left over. We have the Deluge in the graveyard, which that was from a couple turns ago, but we have the No More Lies that has that covered. So yeah, I mean, Sean's maybe starting to run out of gas a little bit. We see Rafine here. That's going to be lined up here for Tim.
Looks like Sean's going to think about responding. Sean also has cards like Sunfall, which can answer these. I think we're going to see a Connive happen here. Fairy Mastermind the pickup on the Connive.
Yeah, and if Sean does have a Sunfall in hand and Tim chooses to fight over the Deluge, then Sean can, just untap and safely resolve that.
And we have a March for the Really Light and another. We just drew a Memory Deluge here. A lot of discipline here from Gallagher.
Oh, I thought we already had a Deluge. Could have sworn we did. I guess not.
Well, we might, but Gallagher might just be waiting,
Okay.
Like it could be a situation where it just has the read on the No More Lies as Depopulate is cast here. Good news for Tim. You can draw a card, friend. You got a gold creature in play.
You can have a card. It's on the house.
Tim is going to get to flash in this Fairy Mastermind, and we're going to see, March of Otherworldly Light take it down immediately. Empty board for Tim. I'm sorry, for Gallagher here. Tim needs to start rebuilding. We know we have the Dinnick at worst. We can flash back.
Yeah, notably, Depopulate, destroying, unlike Farewell Sunfall, that exile. So Tim is able to get that Dinnick back and present a little bit of a threat. And what are the leftovers here? We know about the No More Lies, and I think it might be a Go for the Throat as the last card in Tim's hand.
Yep. I believe that is the case. So we are going to see Memory Deluge playing around that No More Lies once again. You see Tim kind of tanking. Could be a spot where maybe he was trying to tap out the No More Lies, but Looks like Get Lost, Depopulate, Anchorage, and another card I didn't quite make out there off the top.
Randomize, Sean. Randomize. Shuffle them up.
Yeah. We're going to see a Plains for the turn in the pass. Cycle, Rafine's Tower from Tim Hatch. Draw a new card. End of turn, we're tapped out. Sean decides not to fight over the Dinnick. Yeah, I think Sean knows there's no more lies over there from Tim. And if not, he's giving it a lot of respect.
Yeah, at least has the read, and that's the read that he's going with. And yeah, read is on point for Sean. Not surprised. Sean is extremely, very, very well, very well versed with these blue-white control decks, as we mentioned. The Fast and the Teferious.
Yeah.
Not even attacking here from Tim. Maybe worried about the prospect of a Wandering Emperor.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening here is Tim knows, like, hey, I've got to just hold out here and, maybe I'll play a creature, it'll get countered, it'll turn into a clue, but for now, we're going to let this happen as we're going to deduce twice here for Gallagher, and we're going to pop both blues and tap out all at the end of Tim's turn. Oh, yeah, 4 cards going, and Tim's like, that does not feel good for me.
Yeah, 2 mana, draw 4. Or 2 cards, draw 4, sorry. Not
yeah.
2 mana.
8
like
mana,
that. You know what I meant.
2 cards. We're gonna do our thing. I'm not losing sleep over it.
Good enough. Anchorage, Sean, got that one in play. Tim's got Tim drew a cut down. What just banger of a card. I mean, we made fun of cut down, but Sean did just play a target for it. So
yeah, we might be able to convert it. Yeah, it looks like we are animating. Sean's like, that's getting cut down. So be it. I'll respond with a different card. And it's going to be a Get Lost, still having 3 mana up.
Yeah, and notably doing Get Lost before the cutdown resolves because that would trigger the Dinnick to give Tim a clue token.
Yep. Smart play there. And No More Lies is all that Tim has left. And we've seen Sean give this No More Lies more respect than his own mother. And he's going to probably continue to do that and make that card a dead card in Tim's hand.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Tim's hand, there's 1 copy of No More Lies, and you look at Sean's hand, and there's 7 cards. I feel like Tim might have no more lives this game.
Sean just temporary lockdown to clean up the maps.
Get it out of here. I don't want it. Get it out of here. I don't want to see it anymore. Get those maps out of here.
Yeah, and I think what Sean might be doing now is just trying to draw go for a little bit. And it's just going to try and, not worry about actually killing because he's afraid of Tim having removal spells in his hand because, that's just how it's going to go in game number 1. And we're just going to try and set up a Jace that -15s.
See, if we didn't already have a prediction in place for who would win the match, this is where I would do a prediction of how many turns that Tim is going to play before conceding.
Excuse me, Sean actually does not have any Jaces, as you're true there about the conceding prediction there, which does make this a little hard. I know a lot of players are playing Jace the Perfected Mind as a way to sort of draw some cards and win games. So maybe Sean's just going to try and get there with his 3 Wandering Emperors and just make enough tutus.
Tim's just chilling over there, playing lands every turn, just vibing. Tim's just vibing.
Yeah, Tim might be like thinking about what am I going to do for dinner?
Yeah,
What's my cookout tray going to look like?
Definitely thinking about other things that don't involve this game.
Yeah. And it's pretty free for Tim just to sit here too, right? Like Sean is at 8 life. There's a lot of pressure on Sean to win, and it's an untimed round.
Well, you say free, but is it really free if you're utilizing your mental energy? That's not really what do you value your mental energy at, If
I'm Tim, I'm just drawing cards and not doing anything and just kind of like vibing and then trying to cast a bunch of spells in one turn, Like I'm not thinking. I'm just kind of vibing. Make Sean think. Sean's gonna figure it out. As we're gonna see another samurai into the battlefield. Honestly, it's us that Tim should be thinking about. You and me. Is Tim going to draw Gonna play another land, pass the turn. Gallagher thinking about maybe Memory Deluge is gonna go for it as a treat. Top
Seems
4,
like,
put 2 in our
sure,
hand.
why not? You can have 2 more cards. I don't care.
Add a
You
March.
already got 10.
Yeah. Looks like we are untapping here, and this is Sean's plan to win the game, is just make these 2/2s, swing in. Tim gained a bunch of life from that early Dinnick, but we're going to plow through it pretty quickly here.
Chat's talking about Portillos.
Portilla. As we do see a Wandering Emperor picked up here from Tim. Curious if Sean even tries to fight over it, because he's got superiority.
The unfortunate part about this game is the whale has been dispatched earlier, so we can't even play towards that to try to end the game quicker, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, Sean went for it and then had to play on No More Lies the rest of the game. And he just kind of No More Lies to go for the throat. We haven't done anything, and we would have maybe been done sooner. Yeah. Kind of played out so weirdly as we are moving to discard. Temporary lockdown. Don't need that one. Tokens are how I'm winning the game, says Sean. And I'm curious to see if Sean's just going to maybe go for the double block here. First strike will trade with one of them, but...
Maybe just march it. Yeah, this is probably fine. March it, send both at the Emperor next turn.
Yeah, makes sense to me. So we are going to see a pass of the turn here from Tim Hatch. Just hanging out. You're going to see 6 get pushed on the Emperor. Sean going to make another Samurai. And I think this is his plan. Get the Samurais up to 3 and attack. Get the Samurais up to 3 and attack. And we're only 3 turns away from victory at this point. Tim drew a cut down, though, so we're going to be able to kill one of those Samurais.
Oh, get that Samurai out of here. Get it out of my game.
Yeah. Clock's the same, but Tim has the moral victory.
Yeah, Tim's like, you know what? I got value out of 2 cutdowns this game. That's more than I could have ever imagined.
We are going to see Restless Anchorage activated. And we're going to get this out of cutdown range. Gallagher says, aha, you used your cutdown. It's time for me to swing in for even more. Get a map. Get more power.
If you told Tim that he was going to be able to convert 2 cutdowns before the match started, he probably would have told you that you were insane. So that's W in my book.
True. I see. If I was Tim, I'd been like, oh yeah, but cutting down on my own Dinnick before Sunfall just doesn't count, you know?
True.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them. They're always trying to get you on the little angles. And Sean here, I do respect this. He's like, listen, I've got the game 1 next turn. I'm not supposed to do this in the turn, right? Yeah, nope. Let's just double check. Don't want to, because of, more time will be taken up if we don't do it the right way. So we are going to attack here for 9. Tim, destroy evil.
Oh no. Evil has been destroyed.
Sean's like, you have 2 cards in hand? Sure, you're dead next turn. I mean, Tim's doing the right thing. It's not like Tim's wrong.
Right. Yeah.
You
kind of a little unimpressed that Sean doesn't have foil samurai tokens. Like the whole deck is foil. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, that'd be so sick. Yeah, Sean's friends, you gotta get him that for Christmas. He won't watch this feature match. He won't see it coming. Don't worry about it.
No.
So that was a great game, number 1 there, and sort of showed the problems with the matchup. But we have the sideboard to help maybe fix those problems. Devin, looking at our sideboard here with 3 Tishana's Tidebinders, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Knockout Blow, 2 Lorraine, 2 Cryptic Coat, 1 Alcazat's The Deepest Betrayal, 1 Destroy Evil, 1 Negate, and 1 Cutdown. What do you like and why?
All right, so we talked about game 1 not being super great for Tim, a lot of dead removal. Already behind in terms of just like the way that the cards line up, but Tim does have some pretty good sideboard cards. 3 Tishana's Tidebinder, very good at stopping planeswalker activations, things of that nature. Even just like having a flash threat, allowing you to play at instant speed, which the blue-eye control deck is very good at doing. So you can kind of play on their terms a little bit. Disdainful Stroke, good at answering Sunfall, good at answering Emperor, okay at answering Deluge. Not, that's fine. Loran of the Third Path, taking a look at Sean's deck list for targets, not a ton. So there's the lockdowns and then maybe a couple sideboard cards, but probably not going to go towards the Loran's Cryptic Coat. Love that card. Nice thing about Cryptic Coat is even after a Wrath, you can still just kind of pick it back up, replay it. Aclazotz is weird because normally threats that come back from the graveyard would be good against the control deck, but a lot of the removal that Sean has is exile, like Farewell, March, everything like that, Wandering Emperor. So I don't actually know if Tim wants to go to Aclazotz. If he has enough dead cards, maybe he will. And then the Negate as well coming in.
All right, and then that is going to be sort of how things go on that side. Meanwhile, Sean, we have a full sideboard here, 4 Knockout Blow, 2 Shiny Sidebinders, 2 Negates, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Dinnick, 1 Temp Lockdown, 1 Elspeth Scythe, 1 Chrome Host Seedshark. Devin, what do you like from here and why?
Sean probably doesn't have to do a lot here. We talked about how we already think that Sean's pretty far ahead in the matchup. As far as cards that you want to bring in, you might want to consider Tidebinder because it is good. You can stop like a Rafine trigger. You can even just fight over Tim's Tidebinder, like Tidebinder or Tidebinder could be a battle. The counter spells, Negate, Disdainful Stroke. Negate has a reasonable number of good targets, wedding announcements, Virtue of Loyalties, things like that. So probably wants to go towards those. Disdainful Stroke, you might associate, black mid-range decks in Standard with having a bunch of Shieldreds, but there's no Shieldreds in Tim's deck. So the only target for Disdainful Stroke is Aquazots and Virtue of Loyalty, and that's really it. So weirdly enough, I don't even think Sean wants the Disdainful Strokes. Dinnick, no, not really for this matchup. The Temp Lockdowns, I think the ones in the main deck are already coming out. And then Chrome Host Seachark as an additional threat probably wants to go towards that.
All right, and our players are finishing up sideboarding here right now. So let's quickly take a look at our future events because this is potentially our last game of the day here. In Minneapolis, we're going to be having a Modern 10K Showdown on April 20th, and on April 21st, we're going to have a 5K Legacy Trial. Showdown events are the ones that qualify you for end-of-year $30,000 PTQ, so that's pretty exciting. After this, we're going to go to Indianapolis on May 11th and 12th. You're going to have a Modern 10K Showdown and that one. And then Sunday, we're going to have a Team 10K Showdown, Standard, Modern, Pioneer. Devin, this might be one of the last big Modern terms before the Modern Horizons 3 sets drops. Those could be really exciting to go out there and win with your friends. And finally, we are still going to St. Louis in June, the 22nd and 23rd. We're having a Saturday 10K Showdown in Pioneer and a Sunday 5K Trial in a Modern.
Absolutely. MH3, you excited for MH3 to hit? I know you spend a little bit of time on it, so you probably obviously can't tell anything about the cards, but you're pretty excited for the set overall to hit and see what people's reaction to it is?
I'm very excited to see people's reactions in the set overall. I think it's going to be a super fun time. I'm very much looking forward to that. And I'm very much looking forward to the exact announcement day because we actually, I don't think we know it, but we know the Pro Tour that's related to it is when that is. So it's like a weird, like we have a guest in it, but we don't know how late. And honestly, it might be kind of cool to see it be really soon or really far out. Who knows? But I'm sure we'll get that soon enough. But yeah, that's something I'm personally very much looking forward to. Did get to do some contract work on the set for a couple months, and that was a great time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was talking about earlier. I think that it was maybe that your defending of Lightning Bolt was maybe because you had some insider information. But we'll leave that. We'll leave that.
Why would working on the Modern set have inside information?
I don't know. People say things about other sets, and I don't know, man. I'm just spitting facts.
No, they kept me on a short leash when I was in the building. I had to have I had to have an adult with me at all times.
Did you?
Unless I was going to the kitchen to get a little snack.
Chaperone.
Yeah, I got a little snackies. They had little kitchens. I got a little cheese stick sometimes, a little apple. It was great. These players are mulliganing here. As we're going to see Seachrome Coast into Anchorage and passing and back of the turn here with Deep Cabinet for Tim in hand. But do we have the Black Land? I don't think we do.
I think that's 2 Seachromes.
And that's a Dinnick, and that is huge. We saw how in game 1 the bat could have been massive, but let's see how the game goes.
Like I think the second land was Shattered Sanctum. Now, I kind of weird because if you had Sanctum in the opener, you would probably just play that on 1. So Sanctum must have been the land drawn for turn. Like he must have drawn Sanctum on turn 2 and chose to play the Dinnick on turn 2. So kind of just an awkward mana draw here for Tim.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that happens when you have these 3-color decks is sometimes it doesn't work out. Speaking of awkward mana, that Field of Ruin, I think there's only one basic in Tim's deck. I'm going to take a look. Ooh. That is the normal for Esper. All right, so Tim has an island and a plane. So we have 2. A lot of people just have the planes. Sean does know about that, so if we see those later in the game, we might be seeing some land destruction.
Yep, 4 copies of Field of Ruin in Sean's deck. I remember we were watching. Will and I were watching Dom Harvey earlier, who didn't play a single basic, played against Blue White and his Blue to put it drew 3 Field of Ruins. So
I love it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
We're going to see a Fairy Mastermind get in a wedding announcement here. And you're seeing the play draw discrepancy. Gallagher in game one just answered everything when it was on the play and had that luxury. And now Tim was able to get some stuff down, and we have to tap out to answer other things. And it's a pretty big difference here as Sean's going to think about how he wants to work through the turn. I'll just do from Sean. He's not even looking at his cards. He just knows kind of what he needs to do and is thinking, okay, how do I maneuver from here?
So worth noting, we did mention that Sean knows about the 2 basic lands in Tim's deck list, but he knows that's an island and a plains. So there's only one black source in Tim's side of the field. If that Field of Ruin hits the Shattered Sanctum, Tim cannot search a black source.
That's actually really important. I honestly, if I was Sean, I would be so tired. I don't know if I would have catched it. That's a great catch there, Devin. As this Fairy Mastermind is going to get a Gonjoed. See the Emperor.
Now, Sean doesn't know that Tim doesn't have, we don't even know. Tim might have another black source in hand. We don't know that. But if Tim does not deploy a black source this turn, you got to imagine Sean's going to fire off that field. And I think that might be a Takenuma.
Yeah, that is a Takenuma. But honestly, you're right, though. Had he missed, that would have been huge and maybe game ending. It looks like Deduce and 4 lands.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, my goodness. Maybe that's why Gallagher was tanking, was if I'm supposed to just go Deduce and, pass.
The second Field of Ruin, though. So we can double field both black sources.
That's true. We did top off the Mystical, the Archive, I believe. Now, Mystical Archive was the land thing. Oh, no, I failed on knowing the Surveyor land. It's Meticulous Archive.
Meticulous.
I wasn't meticulous enough on that one. Darn it.
Tisk. Checking him out of the booth. He's done.
It's Jover for me.
It's Jover.
We are going to see.
We're going to field something. What are we going after? Black sources. Yeah, I like it.
It's funny. Tim has Tidebinder in hand. So if Sean goes for the field, he might be the one getting Stone Rained.
So, Tim floated a mana there, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're Sean, you just say, I'll pass priority and then make you use the mana now. So.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, you can play around it, but what if you're tired and you've been playing blue-white control all day?
True.
And you're hungry and you just want to go get a cookout tray after you're done commentating. And oh god, I'm projecting. Anyways, we're going to see Gallagher fetch up an island. This might be a thing where he's. Oh yeah, I was gonna say. It looks like we didn't actually say main phase 2 and.
Tough. Yeah, you see the shake of the head for Sean, realizes, yep, knows exactly what happened there.
Yeah, and now I think you had the right idea, and so did Sean, about trying to get us off black mana here for Tim, but we're gonna get attack down for 5, down to 10. Tim up. And if Sean can't find Wrath soon, he's gonna be in trouble. And Tim still has all this counter magic.
Yeah, I can't really get a good look at Tim's hand, but Tim's been drawing a bunch of cards. You got to assume there's at least one of them in hand. Yeah, but like you said, Sean's been playing blue-white control for the past 12 hours, so it's a pretty easy thing to miss. Sean's, moved all the way to the finals, just had to play insanely long games every single round, so, very, very easy thing to to just not even realize.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like Sean doesn't have many spells in hand. Trying to figure out how exactly to get through this. We have Elspeth Smite, which is pretty important. That is going to fight over the Deep Cavern Bat and get back to the Deduce if we want it, or maybe take out the Tidebinder.
Yeah, the mana lines up perfectly for killing Bat, and then you have 4 mana left over to Deduce plus Pop Clue, so kind of works out for Sean.
Yeah, it's just so hard too, because remember that wedding announcement is flip chat, so this is going to be an attack for 8. If don't do anything, so you can cut the damage in half or take more and hope to draw cards. It's a really interesting spot here for Gallagher, as he is going to attack. Sorry, as Tim is going to attack Gallagher with everything. Seemingly no fear of something like the Wandering Emperor.
Let's get the token out, get the Settle the Wreckage out. You know the drill. Ooh.
Okay.
Going animating.
I like this. we're going to get into combat, do our thing, and see if we can Elspeth Smite maybe down something else. And the Eiganjo is going to catch it. As you see, Sean's, brutal.
The punish.
We're going to see, I think, either...
So now what do you target? We're going to go through the Tidebinder. Okay.
Yeah, it buys you a turn if it resolves. And he's going to no more lies it.
Tim's just like, nah, dog. I ain't having that.
All right. Gallagher's he's taking it in stride down to 4. If he can draw one of the Wrath effects, I think he'll be back in it. But we do need to draw one of those Wrath effects for the turn.
Yeah, I mean, Tim could have held up a counterspell.
Oh, he flipped it.
He flips the lockdown, but it's not enough because the Tidebinder is still a 4/3.
Yeah. And Sean's like, okay, yep, good beats. I'm gonna pick the cards up and move on to game number 3 here.
That was good.
That was a really good one. I like it there from Sean. We got a little got by the field room, but at the end of the day, I don't think it would have mattered too much, as we are going to shuffle up here. It looks like the players are just going to present their same decks, which we're appreciative of here. And I cannot wait to see who is going to be joining Matthew Hoey in our end of the year championship event. $30,000 and pro invite on the line. And honestly, Sean Gallagher, someone who's played a lot of our events last year. We've seen Tim Hatch at a lot of them too. Both these players want to make it to the championship, and getting this right now means, we might play all the ones that are local, but maybe we won't drive that extra 7 hours. We won't get that plane ticket flight chasing the points. All been there before.
What kind of token do you think? So if Sean wins, what kind of token do you think Sean will make?
Ooh, I think a clue would be pretty important after the Deduce protocol build. You just kind of got it. You kind of put your chest out there with your build of blue-white. Not many people doing this kind of thing. And
then for Tim, you think I'm trying to think of the token that you make most often in Esper. Wedding announcement token?
Yeah, wedding announcement token. I don't know. It looks like Tim doesn't have a band on. I was going to say, if we had like an engagement ring or something, we could do a cute thing with our partner. But looks like we're not at that point. But it would be a great way to announce it too. Maybe Tim's been thinking of popping the question. Suddenly the announcement token comes out. It'd be really awkward if the person said no, but it'd be really cute if they said yes. Could you imagine you win, you propose to your partner, and they go, I just wasn't feeling it at this point. I'm not saying no, I'm just not saying yes. And then, we're all there. So we're going to come to the booth real quick, as the players are going to actually take a second here. But enough of the jokes aside. Yeah, I guess wedding announcement token. So human, when you come down to it, right? Like that's the one that would happen. I always kind of want like a weird one, like Monarch would be kind of cool, or something like that for like cube type stuff, but like not as good for the people. So you get less screen time, right? It's a tough challenge. Urza Saga token.
I got it. What about a Minsk and Boo token? You just be Boo.
Oh, I would love to be the Minsk and Boo token.
Yeah,
like my Animorph day. Yeah. I like where our head's at on that one. Okay, Minsk and Boo. What about? Oh, actually, I know what I want. I want to get the initiative, and it's like me with like the map of like going through the Undercity, and I'm like explaining it, and I'll be like the little voice bubble that's like take a left at the blah blah blah. That would be kind of a cool one.
Is it like the oversized ones that the annoyingly oversized ones that they put on the table, like when that Legacy Champs or whatever?
Exactly, just like one of those. That would be so sick. That's what I would like. So NRG, whenever the commentary tokens come out, I feel like we're at all the events too. We get a lot of good finishes. Just let it be known. That's what I'm looking for.
We'll go with that.
Yeah. I'm saying, listen, if I go to an SCG con, I see Cedric and Patrick tokens still there. They haven't worked there in years. I'm just saying, how many more years do I got to put in? I'm willing to put in the time. I just want to know, as Restless Anchorage gets played, Darkly Shores and Pasco the turn back. We're here in the finals. One of these players is going to go to our end of the year championship event. And Gallagher has that all important play. And Tim does have black mana for the deep cavern at this time, but it looks like he's maybe thinking about throwing something else out. What do you think about maybe holding the bat, as it does seem that's the play?
Interesting. Yeah, it makes a little bit of sense. Maybe trying to save it. He has Mastermind, so that makes sense too. Maybe he wants to save the bat for like turn 4, where we can go bat plus counterspell available or something like that, or maybe even fight over the bat potentially. But yeah, with the Mastermind, it makes a lot of sense to just kind of jam that. Don't let Sean use his mana, because like the thing about blue-white control, The thing about this deck is you really want to make them pick fights on very specific turns, right? Sean has Wandering Emperor and Memory Deluge at 4 mana, and those cards, in terms of mana efficiency, Sean really wants to cast those on turn 4 to kind of progress the board state. So if you're making the blue-white control deck fight on the turn they have 4 mana, they're only using 2 of their 4 mana. Unless they have something like a Deduce, of course. But you're actually getting more usage out of your stuff, out of your spells, if you make them fight on that turn.
I love it. We're going to see a pass the turn back. Tim did not have that 4th land. And Sean kind of knew, hey, if you have all those spells and nothing going on, there's probably a counterspell, maybe something like No More Lies, and I want to try and avoid that as best I can.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Tim's missing a couple land drops. Sean just casually moving on. Getting all the land drops.
Looks like Sean missed his 6th land. Tim had a tapped 4th land on turn number 5 there. But Tim is going to deploy a Deep Cavern Bat. I'm going to be curious to see what Sean does. As No More Lies gets fired off, the bat is going to go down. You see Tim eyeballing. Looks like he's going to hold up Negate instead of playing something like Dinnick. We also have Tidebinder in hand for Tim. Tap land for Sean. Pass of the turn back.
A lot of draw go here. Players kind of just jockeying for position. In terms of the current position, Sean is 2 lands ahead, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot.
Yeah, with that card in play, No More Lies, you can really tell what is going on when it comes to the lands, because getting to the point where we have 7 mana means that Sean can do something like Wandering Emperor plus pay for the No More Lies. And this also shows just kind of the difference, right, of Tim's deck once you don't have those stinky little kill spells in there anymore. You're able to play a much more real game.
Yep. And here we see the exile clause on No More Lies coming up. Massive for Sean here, able to exile those Denix. Normally, if that was just a regular old counterspell, Tim would still have the ability to just flash them back and actually have, utilize them as real 2-for-1s, but No More Lies just efficiently trading 1-for-1 with that.
Yeah, Sean with that 3rd one. So Tim does only 1 more of those he has to fight through, and then a couple disruptive protocols to cancel variant as. Sean is going to play Memory Deluge here. Again, idea.
And worth noting, Sean, waiting until we get the 7 mana to play that Deluge, just wants to be able to pay for No More Lies and not get it exiled. And Tim's just going to fight over with Negate.
Oh, I love this. If Tim has a No More Lies, he will get the Deluge here. Looks like he just has a Disdainful Stroke, though.
Yeah, that would have been backbreaking, right? You lead on the Negate, you lead on the Negate, Sean fights over it, and then you end up normalizing the Deluge. That would have been a huge, huge swing for Tim.
Yeah, and we see Tim tapping out for the Mastermind. I wonder, will Sean take this opportunity to flash back the Memory Deluge? He decides not to.
All right, Mastermind hitting the battlefield. It's not nothing for Tim. Got mana to activate it. And just imagine how many more resources Tim has if those Denix were not exiled. Nope. The fact that this is kind of the first time that I've really seen the exile clause on No More Lies matter this much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this matchup on both sides, right? It's kind of wild how much this comes up here. And, listen, Mana Leak would have been strong in Standard. This No More Lies, with the way our mana is set up, it kind of plays out very similar. It looks like this is what Sean was going to do, is maybe pick a fight. And it looks like some of the go for third stayed in from Tim Hatch, probably for situations like this. It's probably just a 1 or 2 of them with Rafine. You can have 1 or 2 go for the throats,
Right. Yeah, with Rafine in your deck, you probably don't mind having cards like that where you can just discard them at will if they're bad, and able to take out the Anchorage, and also is aware of the shark, the Chromo Seedshark in Sean's sideboard, so wants to maybe have an answer for that.
Yeah, how does Eiganjo? Can you Tidebinder Eiganjo?
You can, yeah.
Okay.
It is an activated ability.
Okay. I was curious because Tim had it in hand but didn't want to pull the trigger. Makes sense that you maybe want to fight over something different with the Tidebinder. I was just curious if you even could. Never had it come up before.
Yeah, I think Tim's in a position where if you Tidebinder the Eiganjo, then you have 2 things in play, and then that just trades 2 for 1 with the Wrath. So I think Tim is trying to prioritize only ever committing one threat to the battlefield until he feels like Sean is maybe out of gas or it smells blood in the water. So, up until that point, just doesn't want to commit to a Wrath.
Sean lost a land to the Go for the Throat. They went after the Anchorage, and Tim does not fight over the Anchorage with his Tidebinder. He's holding it for something better there. A lot of respect there, I think, from Tim to not, go for that.
With the Deluge in the graveyard, there I might have been tempted to fight over it.
Same, yeah. Just getting Sean down to 5 lands is so big now. You lose all your pressure, but it is reasonable. I guess with Sean at 18, just can't fight, right? Like, it's just you're going to take forever to kill him. Maybe if he's at 8, it makes a lot of sense to snap it off, but a lot of respect there from Tim, basically being like, it's worth. As the Meticulous Archive comes down, we're going to surveil to the top. Kind of like we wasted a land drop when you think about it as we cycle.
You wasted a land drop, he says.
You didn't get the surveil value.
True.
The goat taught me that one. As we attack for 2. Down to 16.
Coming in.
If you know how they did it on the Bible, 2x2. That's how Tim's doing it. 2x2.
Whatever you say. I don't know how to respond to that. Are we sure there's a Tidebinder in Tim's hand, by the way?
There was earlier. I thought maybe I'm mistaken. It looks like the back card in his hand is a Tidebinder. It's a very colorful blue card.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wasn't sure because I no,
stop!
Tim, don't do it,
Tim!
No, Tim, don't do it. No,
don't make room for it.
Like, the exile zone was right there. This was Tim's perfect opportunity to do it, and he's just like, nope, just gonna push the exile zone aside.
It happens as we attack it for 4. We are going to see Deduce here into turn for Gallagher. Get a clue, draw a card.
Tim, we gotta have a talk.
Pop a clue, draw a card. Tidebinder in hand for Tim. You see him? He's thinking about it. Decides not to. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious as to if we're not Tidebindering the field, I wonder what we're saving it for. So if you look at Sean's deck list, saving it for Wandering Emperor, maybe that's a card that's on Tim's mind. And honestly that's Devin, really it, right?
I think what we're saving for it is it's a 3/2 in case we get wrathed.
Okay, sure, I'll buy that.
We just need pressure, like.
Yeah, also, and if you Tidebinder the Field of Ruin at that particular spot and Sean does have untap Wrath, you have nothing left, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of but that's what we had talked about and why we didn't Tidebinder the initial thing. So yeah, Tim just wants another flash creature, and here's another Virtue that is a flash creature, and that's able to, Tim's able to hold on to that Tidebinder as well.
Yeah, Ardent Veiled Fealty gets the 2/2 in play. We have a 2/2 with an Incubate token that can trade for now. And it looks like both players are trying to respect, the cheap interaction that the others can have. Tim knows that Sean's used 3 No More Lies. So there's only 1 more of those and a few other counterspells left. But cards like March of the Will, it could be a problem as wedding announcements to play for turn. And Gallagher is going to tap the Incubate token, take out that attack for 2.
Do we have an untapped land here for Tim to play this Virtue? It looks like the leftovers are a Destroyable Tidebinder, so no.
Yeah, the Virtue would have been really big there. Gallagher also knows there's probably not something like a No More Lies. It's possible that Tim did want to fight over it, but I think a card like Wedding Announcement is probably so tempting to fight over.
Yeah. Yeah, I like fighting over pre-combat because, well, I don't know. Would you rather offer the trade? I mean, Sean's probably not going to take the trade of 2/2 for 2/2. Maybe just takes it and then post-combat still fires up the counterspell.
Yeah, I think the problem is just Sean had so little mana that he just lowers the shields, and he doesn't realize that Tim just has like a Destroy Evil as the card. So it does look like Virtue is coming down. Sean does have a Get Lost. It's possible Sean can just fight over the Virtue itself.
2 Get Lost, I think.
Yeah, I mean, long term,
It's weird, though, because if you let this resolve, Tim doesn't attack. You get into this position where Tim goes second main, Sean fires up the Get Lost. Tim has 2 mana left over to potentially utilize the map tokens immediately.
Yeah, and you can Gallagher kind of felt weakness there. Disruptive Protocol going to counter that so we can resolve this Memory Deluge. The Virtue's going to hit. We're going to get hit for 2 with the Vigilance, pretty much no matter what happens, as long as Tim doesn't forget. And Gallagher is going to be able to do something like Get Lost. And I wonder, are you supposed to even Get Lost the creature and just leave the Virtue? Because the 2/2 is sort of turning into a problem. I'm going to be curious to see how he plays this. It's a really exciting, interesting position to figure out.
Yeah, it's a position where Sean has all of the answers, but he just has to sequence them in the correct order.
Yeah. And how does want to fight with them too, right? Because if you give the map token so that the knight is fighting instead of the Virtue, then you might be, in trouble there. Yeah, and so fighting over that with a March of Otherworldly Light, gonna leave the Get Lost in hand for now.
Yeah, and honestly, as long as there's no creatures on the other side of the battlefield, then you don't really care about the Virtue, right?
Yep. We are going to Field of Ruin, take out one of these lands. Tim is out of basics in deck.
Stone Rain, get him.
Bam. And honestly, it matters a ton with Sean having cards like No More Lies. And we're going to see Sean's like, yep, all right, just double check to make sure. We're going to blow up another white land. So now Tim is down to 1 white mana. That means Virtue is not a playable option.
Yep. And if we take a look at the deck list to see if there's any other double white cards from Tim's side. 2 Wandering Emperors. Those are now offline as well. And I think that might be it. Yeah, so the Emperors and the Virtues offline. You know what Tim's probably looking for here, realistically, is a Cryptic Coat.
Yeah, that's probably actually just the best card we can get. Just a never-ending army of 2/2s.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Sean does have the March of Otherworldly Lights that can answer them, so take that, for what it is. But
yeah, it's interesting too, right? Because you just hold up multiple mana when you return the coat. So it's a weird spot, but I'm sure Tim brought this in. Maybe we'll get to see them here as Sean does need to work on killing Tim.
There's another deluge. Sean's pulling ahead.
Yeah. We are going to see an Anchorage Disruptive Protocol Get Lost, and I couldn't quite make out there. I think it's a Dinnick. Little Dinnick on Dinnick action here from Gallagher.
Dinnick. Sean's so confident getting in there with the 2/2.
I like it. We got to start winning.
Send
we can't just give him infinite time.
Send it. All right, we're doing something here for Tim. Is this finally the Tidebinder?
I think it is.
Yep.
It's more like the time has bindered.
Nope. Next.
Draw for turn. Don't know what we're talking about. I said nothing weird.
We can cut that.
You're going to see an attack for 3 here from Tim.
Get lost.
Knocking out that Tidebinder. Tim's going to get 2 map tokens. Tim did get a Cave of Koilos, so we're able to cast the second Virtue with the double white if we want. That will make it obvious to Sean that we do not have No More Lies.
What the deuce?
All right, and we're going to pop the clue, maybe as well. Yeah. Sean just double checking. Didn't want to do something like maybe Flashback Deluge. There's the last No More Lies. Those Fields of Ruin blowing up the lands. Pretty huge, actually, for that card as well. Making it a lot more live here on turn 15.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of Tim's powerful cards are, 3 and 4 mana, and it's harder to fight over those when you have less lands.
We are going to see a Restless Anchorage here from Tim tapped. I'm very curious to see maybe he'll activate it, get a little counter on it from the Virtue as a treat.
It's kind of nice. I mean, from Tim's perspective, the 2 Field of Ruins are down because Sean aggressively, just wanted to fight over some mana. We're not going to go ahead and put a counter on it. And Deluge going to be flashbacked here. I don't want to call this one Jover, but it feels kind of Jover.
It's getting close to the part where I feel like Sean is firmly in the driver's seat. I feel like Sean has the big advantage right now, but Tim has a couple cards in hand. We have the Destroy Evils. We have the ability with a lot of powerful cards at the top of our deck to maybe come back into this. And since we fought over the creatures, not the Virtue, anything we stick is going to become a real threat for the remainder of the game. So Gallagher is going to have to fight over basically every creature for the remainder of the match until we get to the point of where we can alpha strike through them for lethal. Kind of why I'd like to see an Anchorage get activated and sort of just double the clock here.
Yep.
But
just kind of force it.
Yeah. Maybe there isn't an Anchorage, though.
I would have to assume there's an Anchorage. There's a lot of lands in play, right?
Yeah, after taking a closer look, I might be wrong. It might just not be one. So that's on me. That would make sense. That's why we're not activating.
Tim's got one,
we don't have it. Yeah, Tim's getting in. Gonna pop a map on it.
Work. Surely that'll work.
1 mana March, huge here, blowing up that Anchorage. Not going to get any value. You see Tim thinking, gonna float a little mana. Has an Otawara.
Could have Otawara your own Otawara your own Anchorage, then replay it.
Might have been pretty good.
I mean, that's a tough way to do it, but
yeah, turn an Otawara into a counterspell.
Yeah. Oh, there's an Anchorage.
All right, now we're getting in there. And we see just how much these Sunfalls incubate token really is like a big part of the win condition for these Azorius control decks. You know, they don't play a ton of ways to actually win the game, and they just kind of do this a lot and hope that, you know, you draw a couple lands in a row and can't really power through, you know, a 3/3 or a 4/4, which with the Wandering Emperor, you know, they can pretty easily grow and first strike something down.
Yeah, and I mean, post board, you know, Tim's cutting all the cut downs anyways, so Sean really realistically knows that there's no answers for these small creatures because Tim cannot afford to keep those cards in his deck.
Yep. We saw one go for the throat. It's kind of a nod towards the shark, but we're going to see an attack here for 4, down to 8 for Tim Hatch. We are 2 attack steps away. And I like this from Sean. We're not going to lower our shields. We have like Memory Deluge in the graveyard, I believe, still. We don't want to grow the Anchorage up to a 3/4 because then Destroy Evil becomes a card. Now, it looks like we have a Takanuma getting channeled. Deep Cavern Bat, Seachrome Coast, Tidebinder. Tidebinder already in the graveyard there for Tim Hatch. We have to see exactly what he wants to take. I think there's not much different than what we already saw. Weirdly, a lot of exiling going on this game.
Yeah, really tough to see. We're going to go for a bat here, which, I mean, not the worst because you can maybe take an answer, but I mean, Sean's got 7 cards in hand. It's very likely he has multiple answers at this point. Yeah,
it might also be a situation where Tim's just hoping that things are gone poorly for Sean and just has a bunch of lands in hand. Sometimes that does happen, you know, and it's just like, well, maybe you'll have like 1 kill spell. I'll fight through it and then things will be fine. Unfortunately, we know there's lots, and Tim's like, uh-oh.
You want to take a look at the hand? I'll just show you 4 spells. That's like 2 counter spells to get lost in an Emperor, huh?
Yep.
Tim's like, all right, yep. We're good.
Congratulations to Sean Gallagher for winning our 5K standard showdown. We're going to see you at the end of the year in our championship, $30,000 Pro Tour invite. You're going to join Matthew Hoey and 22 other players over the course of this year. Sorry, 21. Steven Dykeman has already got his invite there. I cannot wait to see it happen. I believe we're going to try and get an interview with our winner, Sean Gallagher, there and get his thoughts on the blue-white control deck list. But I know this is something he has been pushing for a long time. I'm very excited for you, Sean, and good work on putting in sort of, you know, the time and effort and kind of also putting your money where your mouth is. This is not the way everyone else is building blue-white. We've seen some other lists and things are early on, but I think this is going to be the way people build blue-white going forward.
Right. Yeah. We mentioned, you know, there's more of the hard counters in the form of the disruption protocols. Little bit less Emperors, maybe some more lockdowns main deck. The Deduces is kind of something that, you know, a more recent card that people have been trying. But yeah, I mean, Sean just kind of put on a master clinic throughout this entire top 8, and congratulations again to Sean.
Yeah, and you know, those cards like Deduces and the Quick Study, those kind of are pretty big differences, and they end up, you know, making the deck play out similarly, but different enough that he's able to play the games the way he wants, and also just kind of going down on win conditions a little bit and having, you know, just a couple Emperors, no Jaces, but he's in the booth. Let's start to the man himself. Congratulations, Sean Gallagher, on that win. We're going to see you at the end of the year at our Players Championship, $30,000 PTQ. How are you feeling, bud?
Yeah, great. Long time coming. I've lost in the finals twice, so glad to break the streak.
Nice. So how do you feel about your blue-white standard control deck, even before today, right? Like, obviously, you're someone who loves to fairy. You love blue-white control decks. We've seen that a lot. We see it on the shirt. Obviously, you win. You feel pretty high about it. But what was your thoughts going into today about the deck?
Yeah, so the big one was, as long as I don't play mono red or infect a bunch, I felt pretty happy. My sideboard, as you can see, is just a bunch of like anti-mono red cards and some like mid-range cards, and I dodged mono red, played infect one time and beat it, so I got the luck of the draw.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, as far as Mason and I were talking about this, this particular build is a little bit different than some of the other blue-white builds that we've seen over the past couple of weeks, especially with Deduce kind of moving into the mix. But the one card that I want to talk about is Disruption Protocol. This is not a card that a lot of people play, and a card that you put to good use. Talk to me about that card.
Okay, well, I originally built the list with a card called Ice Out, which I don't know if you're familiar with, is a strictly worst disruption protocol. And we added it to the deck, and it just ended up working out really well. The 4-mana Deduce disruption protocol combo, brings you into the really helps in the Esper mid-range matchups. And as you can see, like, that's a perfect example of what I want. I kept scrying Deduces to the top, and the matchup is all just about raw cards, and I was able to draw as many cards as possible.
Awesome. Great. Are you going to be playing in the 75K next weekend? Are you excited? Were there any changes you want to make to your blue-white deck? Give us the scoop here. We got a lot of people in chat who are excited to hear it.
Yeah, if I don't think I'm playing next week. I went to Denver last week, and it's hard to swing all three. But if I was going to play next week, I'd definitely play something to hit the gas a little harder. Whether it's the 5-mana 5/5 Ezram or a second Horned Loch-Whale, probably something like that. I didn't drop a match all day, but I did draw against Slogurk, and I think part of that was I just couldn't hit the gas hard enough. So a way to close the 15 minutes on the timer going into game 2 games would be really helpful.
Yeah, one thing that we've been talking about all weekend is kind of the story of the weekend was Boros Convoke, and whether or not people is going to be able to beat Boros Convoke. Mm-hmm. I mean, you showed up with 3 main deck lockdowns, and I have to imagine you probably like your Boros matchup.
Yeah, I played Sodek twice, who was playing Convoke. I played them in round 5 or 6, and I 2-0'd them. Lockdown does its thing, and then we ran it back in the quarterfinals, and I was able to replicate that. He thinks it's a really bad matchup for him, and I was really excited to get to play him in the quarterfinals. That blue-black Reanimator deck, that deck was really cool. I did not want to play against that. So.
Speaking of decks you didn't want to play against, I was curious about your semifinal match against Domain. How do you feel about that matchup?
Yeah, so that was one when we built the deck we kind of had to think about, because obviously Cavern Souls is a huge problem. But the more and more we played the matchup, we started to realize that Atraxa, while good, draws 5 cards, but only 1 or 2 of them end up mattering, especially game 1. So Atraxa's easy to slog through game 1, and then game 2, we have enough Field of Ruins and Tishana's Tidebinders to kind of keep those Atraxas in check. So as long as you catch your deluges at the right time and they were able to find Tidebinder and Field of Ruin, you can usually keep them under control pretty well.
Awesome.
All
great.
Right. Sean, I don't want to, last question. I don't want to know if I put you on the spot. You got some time to think about it. Well, because this is a showdown, you get to make your own token. Any ideas or any thoughts on what you want to be?
Okay. So we've talked about this. There is a good chance if there's no food token, as you can see, I really want to be a food token. So I would be okay with a food token if possible. If that's not in the cards, probably a Samurai for the Wandering Emperor. That's my favorite card of all time, so maybe one of those two.
I love it. I love to hear it. Well, Sean, we're going to give you a quick second here. Is there any shouts or anything you want to say before we let you go on your drive home?
Oh, we got a 6-hour drive. Me and the boys, we're all here. Listen to me talk about how bad Blue-White is, but really excited to get to hang out with them. Really appreciate all the Minneapolis guys to help out. Everyone did a great job. I really appreciate it.
It's so great to see you there with your friends, and we can't wait to see you at our showdown at the end of the year, along with some other NRG events coming up. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you, Sean. Congratulations. Have a safe trip home. let's
Thank
get to the booth real quick and let's say goodbye, Devin, because you've been here all day, buddy. I know you're exhausted. I'm pretty tired. Thank you so much for everyone at NRG who helped put on this production. Thank you so much to Twitch chat for hanging out with us today and being here. We love Paper Magic and we love bringing it to y'all. Please make sure to click that follow button. That way you don't miss anything else. Our next event is going to be in April on the 21st and 22nd in Minneapolis. That is going to be a modern 10K showdown and a Sunday 5K trial. Then after that, we're going to go to Indianapolis, and we're going to have a 10K Modern Showdown on Saturday on May 11th. And on May 12th, we're going to have a Team 10K Showdown Standard Modern Pioneer. You're going to want to watch that with your friends. Thank you so much for production, for helping put on the show behind the scenes, a thankless job that's pretty hard. We're happy to have you here with us. Thank you for Chicago Landers and everyone who made everyone feel special. Thank you so much to the other commentators who were here this weekend. Thank you, Devin, for joining me. And we will see you all next time for another NRG Showdown. See you then, chat.